energy waste is taking place in our country. And a very brief introduction to the very essential and dominant concept which drives energy conservation, the life cycle cost concept. So, energy is considered the mother of economic development. This is our own definition, so there's no book to refer back to. Then the question of who's the father of economic development in our own humble theory is the engineering infrastructure. So the father gives birth to the economic development, and mother will have to continuously nurture the child or the economic development. So without energy, there's no economic development taking place anywhere in the world. Maybe a century or two ago, in 1820s, the things would have been quite different. It's the manpower which created economic wealth, the economic development, but nowadays, after the industrial revolution, it's the essence of economic development is energy. So petroleum imports in 2011, we still don't have the 2012 figures. My apologies on that. It amounted to about 7.5% of the GDP in market prices, which is a very substantial volume, I must say. Then petroleum imports annulled 44% of all our export earnings again in 2011, and by now in 2013 it may have surpassed the 50% mark, which in simpler terms, whatever the money we are earning, every 100 rupee we are paying back 50 rupees back to the Middle East for oil imports. And our economic development, our country's economic development is taking a completely different path compared to other industrialized nations in the world. Any other developing economy, the energy intensity of economy keeps on rising along with the economic development of the country. But what we see here is a little bit strange. Our primary energy intensity is coming down for the time we started calculating these things, and the commercial energy intensity is remaining stagnant. So the concept of energy intensity may be a little bit new to you. It's how much of energy you are putting into produce a unit of GDP. That is the simple definition. So primary energy is one thing, that is your all crude oil supplies, your hydropower potential, and even sunshine and non-commercially traded, every form of energy is counted in this blue line, but here only the commercially traded forms of energy is counted. So as you can see, although we are, our economy is growing in size, the amount of energy input, commercial energy input is remaining static, and the primary energy put in to make that economic output is coming down. So this is remarkably different to any other industrialization of any other economy. So in essence, this means we use less and less energy to produce more and more economic output. In other words, our structure of the economy is permanently altered. So no major energy consuming industry is setting up operations here, except the two cement plants, one in Trincomalee and one in Puttlam. All the other major energy intense industries, they have either moved out of Sri Lanka, or they are facing tremendous difficulties operating their businesses. Two classic examples are the glass industry and the ceramic industry. So with this kind of energy situation, that kind of businesses don't thrive. So as a result, our energy consumption in the industrial sector is coming down. So it is the high cost of energy alone cannot be blamed for this state of affairs. It is, we have had numerous interactions with the people, the expats, the foreigners who are coming to Sri Lanka to set up businesses, and their complaint is this country is we don't have any decent engineering infrastructure in the country. So people coming here to set up manufacturing industries, they specify certain products, they specify the steels, they specify the shaft diameters and things, but whatever you specify, you have to go to Panchikavatta to fetch the engineering goods, and they need a sample. There's no specification. Without a sample, you just can't buy anything in the country. So that is a great deterrent to many high value industries setting up plant here. So that is outside our discussion, but it's one of the key factors. Then electrification level in our country is reaching saturation. You may have seen the census report says we have reached 87% of our homes now have grid electricity, but the CEB statistics indicates a little bit higher amount, more than 90%. So energy consumption for non-economic activities like watching television and other entertainment is going to rise. Not the industries, not the commercial activities. So composition of GDP, I got these figures from the recent national accounts published by the Department of Census and Statistics. You can very clearly see the diminishing role of agriculture in the country, but there is small kind of a blip here, maybe due to the fertilizer subsidy. There's a noticeable increase, and again the trend is following. But our services sector is steadily growing from 1975 to now. It's almost 60% in the current market prices. And industry band, the blue color band, remains as it is. There's no great change in the figure. But when we put it into the real rupee value, this is again market prices, you can see the phenomenal growth of the services sector and almost the stagnant nature of the agriculture sector and slight growth in the industrial sector. So this is what is happening to our energy demand in the country. Because of the service sector expansion and the near stagnation of other two sectors, our industrial or other energy intensity of our economy is static, because we demand very less amount of energy for services. So I'm asking whether this is a healthy trend. Energy intensity of economy may not give the full picture of the situation. So it's only an indicator of how much energy input was made to produce 1 million rupees of economic output. But if you put in a real indicator like the value of energy put in to produce 1 million rupees worth of GDP, things would be quite different, because the cost of energy keeps on rising in real terms. Not only the inflation-driven rise of prices, it's scarcity-driven price increases there in real terms. So this is going to paint a very gloomy picture for our future. Nevertheless, there is one remarkable aspect about low energy intense countries, because energy is going to be a very difficult commodity to source and procure in future. Lesser energy intense economies will be the survivors of a very bitter battle in the economic forefront. This can be analogous to the survival of the small rodents after the dinosaurs they became extinct in the world, because they didn't have that much food resources to thrive on after the meteorite impact. All the large food consuming species wiped out from the globe, but the small rodents and insects managed to escape through, because they were demanding less and less food from the global ecology. Similarly, economies with very low level of energy demands might emerge as survivors in an energy constrained world in the medium and the future, longer term. So it is going to be a very vital survival trait for Sri Lanka to Bangkok. So our economy, as I already told you, is exposed heavily to oil imports. As you can see, this is the net oil imports value in US dollar millions. It was 4 some billion in year 2011. So it might have now reached about 6 billion for this year. It will be about $6 billion if our prices, what to base our calculations is going to be correct. Then our exports are also rising, non-petroleum exports. It was about $10 billion US dollars in 2011, and we calculate this ratio. The impact of oil imports on the economy. So oil bill divided by the non-petroleum exports. So in 2011, we spend 44% of all our export earnings on oil imports. So it's not a very small amount. This year it will be about 6 billion. Our oil bill is going to be about 6 billion. So it's indeed a very gloomy picture. So our situation is not entirely local, but it's essentially a global phenomenon because of this reason. You can see these three small spheres here and the tiny orange dot here. This is the annual energy consumption of the world, and these are the available resources in the world, the fossil fuel resources. You can see this large black sphere is representing coal power, coal resources. So it is sufficient for 348 years if we consume at the current level. And the natural gas, the lighter shade, is rather the oil reserve is sufficient for about 155 years, and natural gas 60 years. I'm sorry, it's the other way around. It's oil, gas, and coal. So if we consume at the current level, but there's the other side of our coin, the renewable energy. As you can see, there's vast resource of solar energy available, and equally impressive wind energy resource available to the world. But unfortunately, these things cannot be stored. So there is a great necessity for technological development. So our main attention must go to this factor. This fossil fuel is going to be a thing of the past, and as we go on into the future, it is going to be scarce and even more scarce in the coming years. So the gloomy picture I painted in the previous slide is going to be even gloomier if we go in the same pathway. So the Stokes gap measure is nothing but energy consumption. That is what I wanted to give the background. So if this energy is so very important to us, I have the question: what are we doing with this energy? That is the primary issue. We actually don't need any energy. We need the energy services. So we have to be very clear about this. We don't need electricity in this room, but we need light. We don't need air conditioning in this room, but we need comfort. Like that, it's the service we desire, not necessarily the energy. So to illuminate the room, to bring down the temperature, and these are the comfort-driven things. Then the changing the form of a natural resource from a simple frying of an egg. So raw eggs you can eat, but it's more tastier to fry an egg and eat. So you need that energy to do that conversion. Similarly, making aluminium from bauxite is another form of cooking. You cook the bauxite to get aluminium in aluminium extrusions, what we have all around here in doors and windows. It's a very energy consuming process. So to change the form of natural resources, we need large volumes of energy. Then helping people to make transactions, maybe typing, printing, and letting people to watch television, all that require energy. And one of the most important things, moving, rotating, and vibrating things, again we need energy. From a simple rice huller, destoning, separating stones from rice, to Ruhun Kumari taking 1,500 people daily from Matra to Colombo and back to Matara. These things need energy. So this transport, this vibration, and elevators in high-rise buildings, they move people, they move things, they rotate things, they shape things. So this need energy. So these are the main things, but there are many other energy needs. So that is why energy has become so very paramount to our lives. So this is a valuable picture we prepare in our authority. It's known as the National Energy Account, or in engineering jargon it is referred to as the Energy Balance of Sri Lanka. It's a publication. So it gives you a very clear picture where our energy is coming this side and where it is going. As you can see, the width of these bands represent the amount of energy. So the largest band is still going to the domestic and commercial things, whereas industry and transport are significantly less. And you can see an alarming thing here. Entire transport band is orange colored, which means our transport system is fully dependent, 100% dependent on liquid fossil fuel, that is diesel or petrol. So this is a very vulnerable position for any transport system to be in. Any other countries, they have electric trains and many other modes of transport, so they are not that vulnerable, but we are extremely vulnerable to fossil fuel calamities because our transport sector is 100% run on liquid fuel. So here we have the petroleum refinery. You can see the crude oil entering here, and equal amount of refined products also coming to fill up this large slice of fossil fuel supply. Similarly, our renewable energy from wind, then the off-grid hydros and the major hydropower all entering, and this energy conversion taking place in the power generation facilities, and the electricity is supplied to industry and commercial sectors. Then this green band is biomass, our cooking fuel, which is still the dominant source of energy in the country. The same diagram in more understandable way, but it's given in a peculiar unit, joules, in petajoules, 10 to the power 15 of joules. So to give you a perspective, 1 petajoule is about 8 days of electricity demand in the country. So you can see the household and commercial sector taking about half of our energy demand, industry another 25%, and transport another 25%. Our primary energy supply is divided like this. And from the household and commercial sector, a large slice is taken by biomass, wood fuel, and similarly industry again dependent heavily on biomass. And more people are converting to biomass to keep the energy costs low. But transport sector is entirely petroleum, if not for this small slice of coal power thing, which is the Viceroy Special. You must have seen the heritage train, which is used to ferry tourists to the hill country. So that small operation is represented here, but our entire sector is dependent on liquid petroleum. So where is energy wasted? There are two main sectors to consider. Electricity sector, in generation, transmission and distribution, there are wastages. But it is reduced to a very commendable level, even though people blame the CEB and other utilities for corruption and wastage and whatnot. Our electricity losses are in par with the European or the developed world. It's at around 12%, 14% somewhere there. Compared to our neighbors, which are some of them are using more than 25%, and some worse countries losing as much as 40% of their electricity, while before they reach the customer's meter, they lose about 40%. Some very extreme examples in the region, but generally it's about 20% or more our neighbors lose before the customer's meter. But CB, they have got a very good system, and LECO even a better system. They have reduced their losses to a very commendable level. But we can't say the same thing at the end-use efficiencies, especially at our homes, industries and the commercial sector. The domestic sector, mainly due to the tariff phenomenon. You might know, 70 to 80% of our people get electricity at very subsidized rate. If your consumption is less than 90 units per month, your electricity is heavily subsidized. And from, I think, 2 months ago, if you are living in a CB area, your bill will show you the exact amount of subsidies you are getting. So there are two big values, about 1,200 you have to pay, and another 1,800 shown separately. So don't pay the 1,800. It's just an indication that the government is giving you free electricity for that 1,800. So that is the kind of subsidy. Due to that, many people are wasting electricity at home. And the industrial sector, because they have other great problems, they lack investments. As a result, they don't go for better technologies and they waste energy. And the commercial sector, it's a very peculiar problem which needs further explanation. Similarly, petroleum sector is losing a lot of value in the only refinery we have. It's in very bad shape. It's obsolete technology, and the ideal crude oil type required for our refinery is under embargo. Iranian light crude is the type of crude oil we need for our facility, but Iranian oil is out of bounds of all the countries because of the economic embargo. As a result, we produce large amount of unwanted types of fuels, and it is in very bad condition these days. And in distribution, road trucks or bowsers, as we call it, carrying the major burden. And it is not the railway, it is not the pipes as in other countries which deliver the petroleum to the faraway corners of the country. So there are heavy losses incurred as a result. In use, our fleet of vehicles is quite old, as you can see in the roads, on the roads, because the taxation is very punitive. So the government thinks for it to levy about 200 to 300% taxation on vehicles. As a result, people have no other option but to use the aging vehicles, wasting more than 30% of energy. So I was lucky government servant to get a vehicle which does about 12 kilometers for a liter of fuel, but the one I was using before did only 7 kilometers per liter. So there are many vehicles in the country which uses that kind of fuel. So that wastage, even though the government is earning a hefty taxation from a vehicle imports, it's detrimental to the economy, my humble opinion. That is my humble opinion. And congestion on the roads, it's going to increase due to the triple public transport. More and more people are coming to private transport. We will discuss that later. So the energy conservation is a very important topic. Why it is so, let me explain using this diagram. So if we put in 100 units of energy coal into a power plant, you won't believe about the 62 units of that 100 is immediately lost in the power plant itself. That is the nature of the energy conversion process. From chemical energy in the coal to electricity in the wires, you lose 62% of your energy. Then 38 units enter the transmission system, and about 2 units you lose here, and about 35, when it reaches the light bulb, you use 36 units, and out of that 34 units goes off as heat, and 2 units comes out as light. So this is an absolute waste of resources. To get 2 units of useful energy, you have to spend 100. 98 wasted on the way. So that is why conservation at the end use is going to be that much important. So a simple example, incandescent lamp of 100 watt, we compare it as 20 watt CFL and an 18 watt LED. So this will consume about 12.2 kilowatt hours in a month, whereas the CFL only 2.4 and 18 about LED about 2.2. These two are not very much different in energy efficiency. So, addition to your monthly bill at 4 hours of daily usage. So, but the problem is, my previous slide, if you save 2 units here, you will be saving 100 units there. So, we have to keep that in mind. End use efficiency is the real thing which will give economic benefit to the country. So, the most understandable thing, the domestic energy, as you can see, this is a typical middle income home where the refrigerator takes about 50% of your electricity consumption. If it's a double door, it's going to be even more than this. Then comes the fans and the lighting energy. So this is how your electricity bill is generally shaping up. If you have teenage children at home, this computer slice is going to be very, very broader than this. I don't have, so this is quite narrow in that case, but if you have teenage children in your home, it's going to be very much broader than this. Then lighting energy, it's about 10 to 20% in commercial buildings, and industrial plants it's about 3 to 10%. And the crux of the matter is you have to have the exact amount of light where it is needed and when it is needed. Then significant energy savings can be realized with the minimal capital investments if the new technologies are employed. So just a brief look at the kind of technologies available in the country. In incandescent lamps, the famous normal lamps, which will have 1,000 hours life and 10 to 30 lumens per watt is the efficiency grading. It is compared with the fluorescent lamps, which is the more efficient one compared to other lamps. But we have the yellow colored street lamps, they are very efficient ones, even though we don't like the color. It's giving out very much more lumens than any other lamp, even more than LEDs. But solid state lighting or the LEDs is going to be the future of lighting, which is giving you 30 to 100 lumens per hour and lasting 50,000 hours, a very long period. So these are known as the white LEDs or power LED, but LEDs also can be a troublemaker if you don't use it properly. So there's going to be many more innovations coming our way. So we have to await disruptive technology breakthroughs in the coming years. So the same figures again in perspective, as you can see, incandescent being the least efficient, fluorescents quite efficient, and metal halide, the street lamps I mentioned to you, and the LED band is gradually fading into the future because they are achieving somewhere around here at the moment, but in 2 to 3 years or maybe 5 years down the time, they will achieve the highest efficiency. So we have to be on the lookout for greater efficiency lighting. And our country, thanks to the pioneering work of the Ceylon Electricity Board, we managed to break the barrier of passing the lighting sources by source. First time in history in 2010, there were more CFL imports to the country than the incandescent lamps. This is the incandescent lamp imports to the country, which is going gradually down, and the CFL imports are rising up. So CFL penetration is about 54% in 2010, which is a very, very high figure compared to any other country in the world. In US, this is about very much less than 5%. So we have achieved 54% penetration, which is a commendable achievement. And what this penetration can do to you, your country, it has saved 312 megawatts of demand, which means something similar to the Norachole, much hyped, and lot of fanfare, it was declared open, but silently the CFL power plant had been working, avoiding a demand of 312 megawatt, thanks to our people choosing CFL as a better technology. But it will not give you that much energy savings, but it has definitely avoided another coal power plant. We have to be quite mindful for that. Then another alarming statistics, until we did some research, we didn't know that this many households own refrigerators. We thought it's going to be about 25% of the homes, but 75% of our homes, they have a refrigerator, which consumes about 40 kilowatt hours of electricity per month. And this is about 1,600 GWH, gigawatt hours per annum. And if an inverter type refrigerator replaced all these units, another 370 gigawatt hours of electricity can be saved in a year. So this is worth about 8.1 billion rupees worth of electricity. It's a huge, huge sum for even a country. So what we propose is to allow these better technologies to come into the country at virtually duty-free and impose punitive tax on things which are wasting energy. We call it the life cycle cost-based tariff regime, but we have been so far unsuccessful lobbying the government because it's so very complicated. The government is not willing to implement it sooner. So here again, there could be very disruptive technologies and technological breakthroughs which will change this equation altogether. Then we go to the commercial buildings, things like this auditorium we have here. So it is very important because, as you can see, many skyscrapers are coming up in our cityscape. So the property stock is growing at a very rapid pace. So this is going to drive our electricity demand. And operating costs are disproportionately high because there is a very interesting story behind these things. So if you take the life cycle cost of a building, the cost of operating the building amounts to a thundering 84%. So construction will consume only about 12% of your total life cycle cost, whereas the building operation is 84%. So it is we place a lot of emphasis on this much, how much the building costs you and things like that. And then maybe even maintenance, but we completely forget about the building operation because we take it for granted. Electricity bill is there, we have to pay, the water bill is there, we have to pay, and we just accept it as a matter of fact. So the problem lies in this sphere. It is one person's property, building design is another one, and it is constructed by altogether a new party, but the final energy bills are paid by complete strangers, unconnected to all the decisions made in the formative building the early years. So if you take a very quick look at the complex things which goes behind the scene in large building projects, there are capital providers, developers, agents, owners, many people, but finally it's going to be the tenant who is going to pay the energy bill. So he's completely isolated because there are architectural concerns, structural engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical, working towards the goal in this way, and many phases in the building design. So this is called the operational island, this concept. So it becomes nobody's business to manage the energy in the building. So after the building is given to you, ribbon cutting and all fanfare, it's the occupants who are going to suffer and the country. As a result, we have a lot of energy guzzling buildings in our city alone, which we can't do anything about now because we have got it wrong in the first place. I really don't know about your headquarters building, but it may be another culprit or maybe a better building, I really don't know, but these things happen. So the culprit in these commercial buildings is again air conditioning. 77% of that 84% goes into air conditioning. So again, good technologies can reduce this amount vastly. A simple approach like fresh air purging can reduce air conditioning bills drastically. So this part is shown where the offices are closed. You can see the nighttime temperatures, the internal temperatures remain static because the buildings are insulated, but the external temperatures are coming down because there's no sunshine during the night. And if you can automate your building to give you a fresh air purge, to blow air through at around 6 a.m. in the morning, the air conditioning cost can be brought down quite dramatically. But we never take notice of these things because we have many other pressing problems in our hands. Then when we go to industrial sector, again similar to buildings, people pay very little attention to the operating cost of their industrial assets. So they don't pay any attention to the life cycle costs. So use of higher quality, expensive forms of energy, where low price energy firms can deliver, is again a bad practice. So we don't have to go through all the numbers. We use a lot of induction motors in our industry. Many times when the motor is burnt, you rewind it, again use it for 5-10 years. When it is burnt again, you rewind again. Like that, there are a very large number of aged electric motors in our country. Then we have very inefficient but cheap motors from the Asian sources, which can be procured at about 40,000 rupees. The same size, same thing. And there are better motors, known as efficient motors, which will cost you something like 54,000 during this period. But what I draw your attention to is the final equation here. If the 3 comparable motors are run parallel in operation, these are the amounts you will be incurring. So the aged motor, even though it didn't cost you anything to replace, 0 here, it will incur 385,000 more electricity during its lifetime. And the inefficient motor, another 130,000 or so, but the efficient motor will have that much saving. So people don't realize this and they go for the cheaper product and they procure things and they complain of lower profit margins and survival issues, but they just don't have the financial capability or financing schemes in this country to go for better products. So here again, disruptive technologies can play a very vital role in the coming. Now we come to the most important thing, the crux of the matter, the transport. Unfortunately, I have figures only for 2010. You can see the transport demand. There's about 100 billion passenger kilometers demanded in our country per annum. I think it's about 5% more nowadays, about 105 billion passenger kilometers. And railway is taking only about 4.4% of that. So freight, it's 99% carried on road, and the rail is carrying only 1% of our freight. So this is completely different to any other developed economy. Where the rail carries the major burden and the road transport is less significant. So our transport energy demand, this part is actual and this is the future. It's going to rise exponentially again. So this is going to be the number one burden in our economy in the coming years. There's a reason for this. If you see the fleet of road vehicles and the registrations, you can see the two alarming trends. This red line, this is the motorcycle registration, and the yellow line is the three-wheeler registration. So you can see what is going to be the future of our roads if the two-wheelers and three-wheelers are going to be added to our fleet in this alarming rates. You can see all the other vehicle categories are almost stagnant. So people are going for these modes of transport because they can't afford the car and because they hate public transport. So our neglect of public transport, we are paying very, very significant price for that neglect. So the same graph based on the annual registration, the previous one was cumulative registration, this is the annual. Again, you can see the very disturbing trend of large number of three-wheelers and two-wheelers joining our fleet. So cumulative fleet in 2010, 53% of our fleet was motorcycles, and a minute 2% was our public transport. I'm discussing only the road transport here, the buses. So all factors contribute to the survival rate of vehicles yet to be established, and we hope vehicle emission testing program will give us better result. So our active fleet in 2010 gives you this very gloomy picture again, where more and more people are moving to private transport modes. So you can see this is in perspective. So this 56% of our fleet, the motorcycles, are taking only about 13% of our passenger kilometers, whereas this tiny 2% slice is taking more than 57% of the share. So this is why our roads are congested. If we continue to neglect our public transport system, this is going to be worse and worse in the coming years. So a model shift, we call it the model shift. If we encourage 10% of the motorcycle riders, 10% of the people who are using dual purpose vehicles, these are the double cabs and the vans, and the 10% of the car users to migrate into train travel, the amounts we save are phenomenal. The motorcycle people will save 6 billion per annum, whereas the van and the double cab people will save 15 billion, the motor car people will save 12 billion. So this gives you a perspective of the kind of investment we must pour into the public transport sector. If these monies can be saved within a year, we can see how much money we can save by investing in the public transport. It's absolutely true, it's going to be a subsidy and it's going to be very long payback period things in certain cases, because these monies are being spent by the public, whereas the investments is going to be by the government. But nevertheless, as a country, if we take the whole economy, the country is going to benefit immensely if we develop our public transport system. So these are the assumptions I have made based again on the national accounts. So similarly, electric vehicles is going to be the future. So that kind of breakthrough technologies will further emphasize our need to shift the model shift to the transport. So finally, there are cardinal energy things we have to keep in mind. Not knowing what impact energy is making on your purse and not being aware of where it is headed. So this is one of the things all of us practice as professionals, as just homeowners. We really don't know how much energy for how much we pay for our energy. But the moment the electricity tariff is increased, people are up in arms. They fight. During the heated tariff debates, I used to ask people, how much is your electricity bill? And many young people didn't know how much they are paying for their electricity, but they were quite aware about their mobile phone bills, because it's very personal to them. Their parents are not helping with the mobile phone bills, I think. But in many cases, we found out that it's about that for communication purposes, Sri Lankan homes pay about 1.5 to twice the cost of electricity, but they are not complaining to anyone about the mobile phone expenditure, data downloading and whatnot, but it's a matter of fact, so you have to pay the telephone bills, otherwise you are cut off. But for electricity bill, they have other arguments. Then purchasing energy consuming appliances, systems based only on cost of purchase, ignoring the life cycle cost, as I mentioned. This is again a cardinal sin, a sure way to economic ruin. Then use of high quality energy for low quality work. If you are using electricity for heating something, it's again a very wasteful expenditure, because as you go on in the energy ladder, the cheaper forms of energy like fuel wood is good for heating something, then we have to use it without going for expensive and refined energy forms like petroleum fuels or electricity. That way we can help our economy. Then refusing to believe that equipment have a limited useful life. Here again, Sri Lankans are very famous for this kind of behavior. They even use wrapping paper several times before throwing it out. At least my household, they somehow try to take out the wrapping paper very painstakingly. They remove the sellotape and try to reuse it. That is the kind of Sri Lankan mentality. We don't waste things, certain things. So, but electricity consuming or energy consuming appliances, we have to be, whether we like it or not, we have to understand these things have a useful life, and we have to get rid of these appliances or devices for the economic benefit of the country. Once now, the vehicle fleet I was complaining about, our vehicle fleet is very old. As a result, the country is suffering due to the wrong policy of taxation. Then the final bad thing is knowing that things are very bad and not doing anything about it is again very cardinal sin in my opinion. So one personal lesson about the life cycle cost before I wind up my delivery. So we have a padlock issue in my home. I used to live with my parents, so every time there's an issue with the padlock because it's open to rain and sunshine. So every 6 months you have to change this padlock, 350 rupees, unbranded Chinese padlock. So every 6 months you buy a new padlock. So my father got very upset about it, and he went in and wrote the better quality one for 2,850. So when you do a life cycle cost analysis, I have paid about 4,900 rupees as opposed to 2,850. So that is a life cycle cost we have to keep in mind. But I was harping on a small little tag-like thing, disruptive technology. So see what happened to me later. We also have another plot of land in the adjoining road, and the man who take care of that place, he says, seriously bag so seriously bag plus the padlock, 350 rupees, and the padlock is still operating as opposed to my high value padlock. So disruptive technologies you have to be very careful of. So I lost my battle with the padlock, but thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. I hope you learned something from my Raja amateur's attempt at describing the national economy. So I'm open to take up many questions. I hope it was interesting to you. Thank you.